Welcome to Giants Nation. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, the Football Grump, and we've got a little bit of a preseason preview, our annual episode with Clem from Barstool on. We went over 30 minutes with Clem, and he came out hot. Like, Clem is usually like the most positive Giants fans, and once we got to the record prediction, I kind of got him around on that. But he's kind of a little fed up with the way the Giants have been. So, fun interview with him, always kind of a break from the seriousness of training camp, and we're getting ready to kick into these preseason games where we're going to be full go, game reviews and stuff. Grump, how are we feeling?
Feeling good. It feels like actual football once we have a preseason game out there, and a lot of this hypothetical talk that we've had since what has it been? Since March, April, we've been talking all the time. So it's finally real stuff that we get to watch. It's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as exciting as recording a podcast in your cousin's childhood bedroom, but it is exciting. You made a joke about like, oh, did you take the Justin Timberlake poster down? And I went like this. I was like, no, I actually did not take it down. So we're up in the Catskills at Aunt Kathy's, so having a good time. But do want to do our annual 5 preseason players to watch as well too, in this show. But like you said, I mean, it's the training camp recaps. Once you get about to 9 or 10, they become like, I feel like we're talking about the same things every day, and it's how many times can you update the same thing or talk about Dart's progression or Russell Wilson being what he is. And then you get preseason games. And then, like you said, you're just back in at new games. And then you get the joint practices next week, which those are better than any training camp, recaps that we do. So it's just full go action until we get like a week off of the south of the border. So really excited about everything that we're doing and all the content that's coming down the pipe. All right, let's do our so before we get into the Clem interview, we're going to do our 5 players to watch for in the preseason game 1. Before we get into that, this episode is brought to you by some special people. We got Alan Iannacone. He is a cone. The cone head. Big Blue 92. His name is Big Blue and his last name is 92. Very weird, Big Blue 92. And then we got Dominic Verleza. He's a pizza people. Grump, who are these special people?
These special people are heroes who went to patreon.com/GiantsNation, where they signed up so that they could do things such as watch behind the scenes live videos of recordings such as these on Patreon. And in addition to that, they get entered into raffles where they can win free stuff. They also get stickers in the mail from you, Bobby Skinner.
Glad you did.
Glad you did.
This week, we've been putting some like articles out there, like some write-ups as exclusive content, but preseason game, it means the first film review. That is exclusive to Patreon. So that's when I made this change, I said that's going to be the biggest change. It's the film reviews will go behind Patreon. But let's get into our preseason players to watch. I bet you we have some overlap on some of these, and I don't expect the starters to play a ton. Now it's very hard to figure out though this year if the Giants, or at least how much the Giants starters will play, because I think they will play, because Dable did. It's like, yeah, they might play, kind of like grease the skids for them to play on Saturday. But the question is how much, because his first year they played about a series in this game, and then they played almost a whole half in game 2, and then rested game 3. The last 2 years, they haven't played any in game 1, but they also had joint practices for game 1. Then they played their full half in game 2 and then none in game 3. This year, they have the joint practices in week 2, and I just don't see Dable wanting to play them a lot after 2 joint practice sessions. But also, I think he likes to keep that third game as like the starters not playing. So like I think we might get a lot of action from the starters. I'm not sure, but this is always kind of more about the backups or bubble starter guys. So number 1 for me is going to be Evan Neal. I joked, before camp started that he would be on this top 5 guys to watch just out of curiosity. But now I'm like invested to see what Evan Neal looks at guard in game action on a consistent basis, and not doing a series and then a series off. Like he was a bust at tackle. This is a last ditch effort to try and get something out of Evan Neal. I want to see how he looks one-on-one versus backup guards. I want to see how he handles if they run any stunts. I want to see how he works in space, pulling or on outside types of runs. And to be competing to be a starter, he better be damn good because he's going to be facing backups more than likely.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting too because we're getting some competing reports out of training camp between like Carl Banks and others as to whether or not Evan Neal has looked good in training camp or looked horrendous in training camp. So it would be nice to be able to get some clarity. And ultimately, I don't really care how anybody looks in training camp. I care how they look in a game situation. So things like one-on-ones are kind of cool to see, like encouraging stuff, but one-on-ones aren't real life and they're not game situations. So it will be interesting to see Evan Neal in a preseason game and how he looks at guard.
And that's another thing is like we all get to just watch him, where even in training camp, as much as I have takeaways, I can't sit there and watch Evan Neal directly every play. I can have a practice where I'm like, I'm gonna try and focus as much on Evan Neal, but you can't, you just can't do that unless you're not worried about having content out there after every practice. And I think there's been ups and downs. Let's see it again. Versus backups, I feel like he needs to be awesome, not just okay. He needs to be awesome because if you can't look awesome versus backups, then I really doubt you against starters, right? And we've seen guys even have great preseasons. I remember Will Hernandez last year with the Giants, which was his worst year with the Giants. He was amazing that preseason. So if reach that bar, like I'm invested. Like I've went from not caring about this at all, really, the Evan Neal guard thing, to now I'm bought in. I really want to see if they can get something out of this, this last ditch effort.
I went with for my sole guy on the offensive line. I went with Marcus Mbow, and I went with Marcus Mbow for a number of reasons. Number one, I initially, when they drafted him in the 5th round, I think it was, I was not optimistic that they would. I kind of felt like, oh, okay, like they have time and they can do things with him. He can work at tackle. He can work inside at guard. I'd like to see him all over the place, but the reports I'm hearing and what I've seen out of training camp look pretty promising for him. And I have not been all that enamored with James Hudson, both in film review and in, reports from training camp. Just didn't look that great to me. And I need to know what the situation is at tackle if Andrew Thomas has a game that he needs to sit out. Or a stretch of time that he needs to sit out. I need to know if the best course of action is moving Jermaine Illuminator to left tackle and inserting Marcus Mbow at right tackle. I need to know if maybe Marcus Mbow is good enough to jump in at left tackle. I have no idea, but I'm not going to be. I'm okay if Marcus Mbow is not ready to be a significant part of the offense in his first year. But if he is, that's a significant move forward. It makes me feel a lot better about Jermaine Illuminator's contract situation after this year. So I really want to know what he looks like in a game situation at this point, because he's already, I think, further along than what my expectations were at what they should be for this point.
I actually have Marcus Mbow at number 4. And why he's not number like 1 or 2 for me is because I don't have these expectations of him playing this year, but he is somebody that, I tried to not do all of the draft picks in this, and we're not doing Jackson Dart, obviously, because Jackson Dart is our number 1. I'd say it's safe to say both of our number 1s. And if he's great, we'll celebrate. And if he sucks, we'll say it's just preseason, because it is just preseason. But you know how much of a fan I was of Marcus Mbow. He's extremely quick. He has great feet, elite hand usage. I mean, an advanced understanding of the offensive line position. But there is one big question mark: his strength and anchor. Right? That is all. That stuff can be great, but if you can't anchor down, then it doesn't matter. Right? You can't last in the NFL. So I want to see how he does again versus backups, because if it's a struggle for him, I'm like, we may have to make a change to center here eventually. You don't want to. You're not going to give up on tackle after one preseason game, clearly, but it does have in my mind if he struggles versus strength in this preseason, where I'm like, we may have to make a quick switch to center or spend next offseason cross training at center and tackle, and then you evaluate the first couple weeks of camp and then make a decision on what his long term position is going to be, which I think. As a 5th round pick, you should be afforded time to play those types of games with Marcus Mbow. Or if he's a 3rd round pick, I think you'd have to figure it out a lot quicker. But like, honestly, for me, I know he's number 4 on my list, but he's probably the guy I'm most looking forward to watching, because I think it's going to be good. I think he's going to be really good in preseason football. We'll see how it translates whenever he gets his regular season shot at tackle. But I think against backups, he may just put some like damn good film out on tape.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he looks like. And I won't be disappointed if he doesn't wow me in his first preseason game. I didn't really expect him to. Like I said, I had no expectations for this point in the year for him. Who's your number 2 guy?
Darius Alexander. The third round rookie out of Toledo, defensive tackle. So he's had a very quiet training camp, and I sit with Rich at Big Blue Huddle, and we've talked about him quite a bit. Where it's not just like, oh, why is he not making enough plays? It's like it feels like he's a little bit out of shape because he missed OTAs with whatever injury he was dealing with, and it's coming along slow. But also during training camp, this defensive tackle group is really has me stressed out about it being an issue. And the reason why this defense, as talented as it is, could just ultimately fail. That second spot is wide open, and some guys are just better in games than they are in practice. They just can't get up for practice the same way they couldn't for a game. And I know preseason's not the same, not the same as a regular season, but it is just different for guys. I just want to start seeing some flashes for him because as much as there shouldn't be put on his plate to like, oh, well, now you got to be the starter from day one. I also want to see you beat Jason Williams and Jake Kubis and Josh Azudu and basically all these really bad offensive linemen. Jake Kubis could be something, but all these really bad offensive linemen, you should be able to flash at least in the one-on-one drill. And we just really haven't seen anything from Alexander in practice to where, all right, preseason games, let's see what you got. Show us something because that spot is wide open, and until Darius Alexander gets good, that's a really bad position on the team.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, it's a little interesting that he would possibly be out of shape considering he had the extended, I maybe not. I was going to say because he had to go to the Senior Bowl, he might have, remained more in shape than other guys. But
speculation.
At that time, everybody's getting ready for the combine too. So
it is just speculation. It's just sometimes, I saw him, he went in for a couple plays and took a breather and breathing heavy on this. Like, I'm not sitting here reporting Darius Alexander's out of shape and the Giants are concerned. It's just he's at a very quiet training camp where we're looking for some flashes and you just don't see very much there. This is where I want to see that first shot of action from Darius Alexander.
I can kind of stick with the defensive line a little bit. This is sort of a cheat, but my fifth most, anticipated spot.
No, you got to go number 2. You got to it's 1 through 5, no position.
All right. Number 2, I just want to see Abdul Carter, man. I want to see him in a game situation just wreck stuff. I want to see him just fly through the line, make offensive linemen spin in circles. Now, I just want to see just everything that I've seen in training camp is so promising, but it means absolutely nothing. As soon as I see it in a game, I'm cool. Bubble wrap. I don't need to see any more preseason game stuff. I want to see him just destroy in this first game, and then I don't really need to see much of that rest of him in preseason stuff. I'm really excited for how a guy like him can transform a defense where he's sort of like, I don't want to say like a positionless anomaly, but just somebody who's such a wild card that can do so much and just be so disruptive. I want to see that in action.
I didn't put him on here because I'm like looking to like get guys who like preseason can sway me, but I said Mbow is one of the guys I'm looking forward to watching most. I mean, I just want like an 8-play cut up of Abdul Carter just to give us a little taste, because I've gotten bored with his training camp domination. I just want, and now Jets join practice. He's the number 1 guy I watch. I want to see him versus Olu and Mbow, or Membo. But give me a little taste of preseason where it's like, give me a nice 7-play cut up I could post and remember and just have that be nastiness. That's what I want to see out of Carter. So he's not on my list, but I sure as hell am just hoping to see him make some freaking plays. So number 3 for me, Montrell Washington, the wide receiver. He's been a big-time player for the second team in camp. He's caught the most passes from Jackson Dart. And it's not just like little quick dump-offs. Like he's actually getting passes down the field. I'd like to see him in this game work a little more of their traditional slot routes, which I think, Dable's going to have him doing because that's the way Dable runs his offense. But like, this guy came over from the Chiefs practice squad after the Super Bowl. This team doesn't have a backup slot wide receiver, right? So we didn't really go into camp having any clue who that would be. At first, it was Amir Smith-Marset, and I think once the Giants kind of started playing Amir Smith-Marset at slot wide receiver, they're like, okay, yeah, this guy is more of a returner. Let's give somebody else a shot. And Washington's made the most out of that. So we've seen, guys without a big pedigree, make plays in that slot position in the Brandon Dable offense. Richie James in 2022. Montrell Washington, let's see what you got, because I think he is actually battling for a roster spot.
I have him as my number 4 most anticipated guys to watch. All the reports out of camp tell me that he's legitimately competing for that slot spot, and I couldn't agree more. It feels like the general approach to the backup slot receiver position, which, they invested a 2nd-round pick in Wan'Dale Robinson. So it's like not like they devalue the slot position. It's an important part of this. And when they're not just like rotating guys like Darius Slayton or Malik Neighbors into that spot, or even Jalen Hyatt, just to, give them free releases or anything like that, there's no backup plan. And the backup plan has always been, I think, to just kind of throw the special teams guy in there, like Gunnar Olszewski at times, Amir Smith-Marset at times. I think having a real slot receiver there, someone who can just do the job, and, he's not going to be starter material, but if you can sort of kind of not miss a beat or not change your game plan at all because Wan'Dale can't play, then you've got something there. And again, this is one of those things where hearing it in camp is really exciting. Seeing it in a game is what's important. And I want to see, even if he doesn't get targets, like, I want to be able to look back at this game and just like see how he does. Like, does he shake a guy on his cut? Like, is he open, even if some people aren't looking at him or whatever? Like, what can he do? Is he have that ability to stretch the field as well? Or is he just going to be, everything is going to be within 10, 11, 12 yards? Or even less. Like, is he going to be the average depth of target guy around 5 yards or something like that? I want to see what he's capable of, and if he really does have that ability to just jump in and be the slot guy when the slot guy goes down. And even then, I'm not even sure that guarantees a roster spot, because I don't think he has any special teams. I don't want to say like ability, but like crossover with this staff.
Well, I'll say the other receivers probably offer you a little more. Bo Collins, Amir Smith-Marset is on the team because of his receiver. I mean, he played 217 snaps for the Broncos, 52% on special teams in 2022. So
okay,
but that was a Nathaniel Hackett team. All right, so number 3 for you is who?
So number 3 for me, this is my other starter, and it's Jevon Holland. I really like what Jevon Holland brings as a versatile kind of safety, and seeing him with the way some of defensive coordinators have used him to disguise looks, and his versatility allows for that disguise look. And I think that's where, Shane Bowen can open up a little bit. And I do believe that Jevon Holland can continue to grow. Like, I don't think that he's set in who he is right now, production wise. And I'm interested to see how he's deployed and what he looks like in this defense.
Yeah, it's the tough thing for me is, like, I don't know what they're going to do with the safeties in this and how much they're going to move them and stuff. But, Holland has had 2 interceptions in training camp. One was off of a Drew Phillips tip, but still made it. As we're getting ready to record his player profile, right after this. Like, being a preventer is not enough, for the contract that you've signed. You've got to be a playmaker. You can't just be a preventer and a good safety. You need to be a really good safety. So it'll be interesting to see what Holland looks like in preseason. My number 4 is Marcus Mbow, and your number 4 was Montrell. So we both got our number 4s cut out. My number 5, I know people will laugh at this one a little bit. Tre Hawkins. When Hawkins was drafted, he was this big traitsy corner who needed work. And guess what? It was kind of like, if you said, like, all right, when do you want to see something out of Tre Hawkins? It'd be year 3. That's when I want to see something out of, this underdeveloped, big athletic corner. And guess what? We're in year 3 now. He kind of feels like forgotten and more of like a meme player because he was rushed into that starting spot his rookie season, and obviously he struggled. But like, this is where we're supposed to be with Hawkins. Let's see what you are in year 3. And the corner spot, another tricky one. You know, you have a Debo and Phillips who are your lock starters. You know, Banks and Flood are guaranteed roster spots battling for that other one. And then how many are you going to keep? Because you got, you know, Nick Jones has been operating as the backup nickel corner. Corey Black as a rookie draft pick, and Tre Hawkins. Like, that's 7 guys right there that can make an argument for the roster. So, like, Tre Hawkins, let's see what it's all about in year 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been cast off because he shined so much in his first training camp that he had earned his way to a roster spot. And then, you know, when it came, you know, time for the regular season, didn't really stay there. But also kind of because he was a little bit traitsy specifically for the Wink Martindale system. He fit very, very well. But I think a lot of Giants fans have just kind of cast him off and shouldn't have, because like you said, like somebody like this drafted where he was coming out of Old Dominion, you would expect to see something now, not in year 1. So it's okay that he hasn't been, you know, lights out. Our expectations, I think, jumped really, really high up early and then fell off, but they shouldn't have.
Well, and it's just he was always rushed along too early. You know, it was, you know, moving Adoree. I don't want to revisit all that, but moving Adoree Jackson to the slot and just like, yeah, this guy's having a good camp. He's a starter now. Was always premature, but you know, yeah, he's more traitsy for the Wink Martindale scheme. But guess what? You know, length and athleticism and strength, that should translate to any scheme in the NFL. So it's on Hawkins to figure it out. Who's your last guy?
So my last guy is a little bit of a cheat, but it's because it's 2 guys, and I'm not really sure. It's Chauncey Golston and Jeremiah Ledbetter, and how they're deployed, where they lined up, and how they plan on using. But watching Jeremiah Ledbetter, I really thought that he was going to be much higher up on the depth chart, and he's just like completely forgotten about. And that really does surprise me. And Chauncey Golston, you know, with his history moving to the inside, moving to the outside defensive end, defensive tackle, where they line him up, what they plan on doing with him, how they plan on rotating him. I don't know if they plan on rotating in. I guess that I doubt that they'll mix and match players between like the starters and then like kind of rotate in and out guys in the preseason. But I'm just interested in how they view them and how they want them deployed, because I thought that they both brought something important to the table. And it's been sort of like a non-story out of camp.
Yeah, Chauncey Golston's a lock for the roster spot, where Ledbetter seems like he's just an odd man out, which is frustrating to me. Like, I finally stopped kind of beating around the bush. I was like, you know what? Roy Robertson-Harris shouldn't be a starter on this team. He shouldn't be getting any snaps. I don't care if he got $5 million. Like, he's going to be a liability for this team. And if you think he gives you a little bit of a pass rush edge of those other guys, it's nowhere near enough to, you know, to have that type of
offset. Yeah, I agree.
You know, and it's just frustrating. So that was my 5 guys to watch. Grump's 6 guys to watch. He breaks the rules. And if you want to break the rules, you should do it with Body Armor. And guess what? This episode is brought to you by Body Armor Sports Drink. Rewrite your routine and choose better with Body Armor. Body Armor is real hydration with electrolytes, coconut water, and no artificial dyes, flavors, or sweeteners, with great tasting flavors like strawberry, banana, and orange mango. Body Armor will level up your hydration game. Grab Body Armor Sports Drink today at your local grocery store. Body Armor. Choose better. You'll be glad you did. And here is Barstool Clem. All right, we now welcome on to the show our friend Clem. Clem, how we doing? How we feeling? How we cooking?
It's a little different this year. There's something different. I don't know what it is. There's just something different than our usual interviews. Oh, I know what it is. I'm Bob. I called you Bob. I've never called you Bob before. This is how you know I'm getting serious. This is the first year that I can remember that I'm not excited for NFL football. Like, truly stoked and excited. And that's not even just Giants football. It's like I couldn't sleep like the night before the magazines would come out, the fantasy magazines, Madden, all that kind of stuff. And I think the Giants have like robbed me of a lot of my joy of NFL football. But it's coming back slowly but surely, like a little bit, trickles. But man, I'm telling you, man, that was a rough fucking season we just had, bro. It was a bad one.
It was brutal, but I will say if we get like one, because this is coming out the day before the preseason opener. You get one drive, one nice drive with Jackson Dart, and it brings you all the way back in. No matter how much you tell yourself preseason doesn't matter, it just sucks you in. Whether it's do you remember the Darren Waller drive? Like that was unbelievable. I remember texting Justin. I was like, "This is awesome! Like we're just sick this year." And that year went array, but um. Like you said, after 10 days of like being at training camp, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to see games. But preseason action should hopefully get me going.
And like let me like phrase this differently too. Like, so the last time I got like I was truly excited for Giants football and like got those feelings, like you said, where it's like, oh my God, I'm ready for it. Was Jackson Dart throwing a goddamn football to a jet skier that the guy dropped, right? And you just get all those feelings when you have that, especially a rookie quarterback. I know you guys, that's when you had the thing when you did the Daniel Jones stuff, and then everything the rookie does, you see hope in it. And that's what Jackson Dart does, even if it's a guy he's throwing it off a boat, I think, and the guy was on the jet ski, whatever it was. And like, there's little twinkles. And by the time I guess this airs, we'll have the Hard Knocks theme back in our life. We'll actually have real football. And that's how you just get rolling. I will say, it does killing with this team just because of the schedule and some of the stuff we've seen over the years. And also, let's be honest. I'm going to just say it right now, Bobby. Giants 100 was a bust. Let's just call it what it was. Anything Giants 100. I did a quick little search before we went live here on just some of the highlights from last year. Do you mind if I just read them off some of the ones I found here?
Hit me.
So I said, I tweeted like after, I think it was during the Washington game, like, let's just every time something bad happens, let's put Giants 100 to like, mark this momentous occasion.
That was us last year. Like you had to find some type of comedy. So like the Giants haven't won a home game all year. Giants 100.
Yep, exactly. The Giants became the first team in NFL history to score 3+ touchdowns, allow no touchdowns, and lose in regulation. Hashtag Giants 100. For the first time in 100 years of Giants football, the New York Giants have lost 10 games in a row. The New York Giants had a red zone period practice today in 30 degrees and 18-mile-per-hour winds, in which the offense went 0 for 17 on passes, 0 for 4 versus air, no defenders, and 0 for 13 in one-on-ones versus defenders. So it's just like the Giants are 16.5-point underdogs against the Ravens, which was the biggest point spread in the NFL since week 10 of last year, when the Giants were 17.5-point underdog against the Cowboys. And I'm sorry, I should have done a trigger warning for all the PTSD, but like, I'm coming into this season with a really just like, I'm just mad at this franchise and this team, and Jackson Dart could fix a lot of that. Malik Neighbors can fix that. The defense can fix a lot of that. But man, I think last year with all this stuff that I'm reading here, one interception on the year heading into week 14, that ranks 790th out of 798 teams in a season since 2000. John Mara pointing to his ring finger to Seahawks fans. That was delightful.
Forget that happened last year.
So much stuff happened when I'm reading. I'm like, I forgot all this stuff. I started getting the ball when it's 30-0. What do you want me to do? Our rookie that's potentially the savior of our offense and franchise. Now that, before Jackson Dart. So it's just, and then let's see, the seasons, the Giants start to the seasons: 2017, 1-8, 1-7 in 18, 2-11 in 19, 1-7 in 2020, 1-5 in 2021, 6-1 in 22, 2-8 in 23, and then it was 0-2 when this tweet went out by Hurt124. What did we start last year? Like, awful is what it was.
I mean, 2-14, I believe, until they beat the Colts. But
I'm rooting against them.
Yes, yeah. So it's you have to find humor in that. My favorite one was the interception thing, because Darius Alexander, their 6th-round linebacker. So we got to the point where anytime we talk about him, we'd be like, Giants interception leader Darius Alexander. And then again, you root for jokes at the end of the season like that.
Yeah.
So they had 4 guys had like 1, and you're like, please nobody get 2. Please nobody get 2. So we can say Darius Alexander, Cordell Flott, Tre Hawkins, Dane Belton, and who was the other guy who was like, so I get to spend all offseason calling them the team interception leader. Who was the 5th guy? That's actually, so we had Tre Hawkins had the one against the Saints, Cordell Flott against the Falcons, Darius Alexander against the Vikings, Dane Belton against the Colts.
I was say the Colts had one, yeah.
So we're missing
We're missing one of our interceptions.
Oh, Drew Phillips had one against the Colts too. So so 5 guys who were the team interception leader.
So I don't want to be negative, but I have to say that all that stuff in the 100th anniversary where we thought we could be good, and our rival, who I consider our truest rival, right? The Cowboys have been a joke forever, and Washington's up and down. Go take our old franchise player who was beloved here and then win the Super Bowl. This is about as low as we can get. And Bobby, I'm at the point, man, I've been on your show for so long now. I had little kids when I started. They're getting bigger. I got a 7-year-old boy upstairs who fell in love with flag football last year. They called him the Beast because he was like fucking like Antonio Pierce racking up all the flags and tackles and whatever you want to call him, flag football. And every Sunday he'd wake up and was like, Dad, the Giants are going to win today. The Giants are going to win. And I'm like, brother, we are going to get murdered today. But you can't tell that to a 7-year-old kid, you know?
You shouldn't tell that to a 33-year-old man like myself either. Like I was that at 29, and the Giants have like slowly taken that away from me.
I know. I see the light dimming from like all the Giants fans' eyes, year after year at the tailgates. You just see the hope and glimmer going away. So it's just so tough. And at this point, I'm rooting more for his memories. Nothing's going to beat 07 in my mind. The Super Bowl 42, I don't really know how that could possibly be topped, unless I guess maybe we went undefeated and won it all. But for him, I just want him to like have bragging rights in school against some of the kids that root for other teams and just be proud of his team. And at this point, like, I don't know. However, Bobby, we're recording this a little before it's going to air. I don't know if this is just coincidence, happenstance, or what. Did you invite me on the show today because we finally got the moment that's going to turn this franchise around?
What are we talking about?
So we thought we turned the franchise around when we may or may not have burned a boat down in Florida to reverse the curse of the boat picture, right?
Correct.
Clearly, that was just, we didn't do like enough dark magic with that boat because it was a little bump. It was like a little sugar high, and then we crashed, obviously, after the 22 season. Mike Francesa was in a commercial with the New York Giants and the San Francisco Giants. And Bobby, that is one of if our social team can get wins, like that's the biggest win the Giants have had since the Vikings playoff game, I think. Honestly, like our social team in like the Mets have become so much better. They have good jokes. They're timely. They get like the current internet culture. The Giants have been lacking in that over the years, I feel. And when I saw that go live, where they had Eli Manning eating with O'Hara and I think a couple of the San Francisco Giants, and Francesa comes in, and for the people that don't know, let's just look up Mike Francesa viral Giants phone call or whatever with the San Francisco Giants, and he said, Mike, is it true that the Giants, you think the Giants ever like go out to eat with the San Francisco Giants when they're in town and like have like a picnic or something? And then they had Eli Manning do a skit about it today. And the fact Mike Francesa, Mr. Pompous, the Pope himself, was able to laugh at himself and do this on a Giants like tweet, I feel like this might reverse the juju, Bobby. Call me crazy.
It's amazing. I talk with one of the Eli Manning producers every once in a while, Dylan Landon, and I just gave him great job. Like that's an amazing job to get that.
They're good over there with Eli. They're real good with Eli stuff.
And they do Eli, and it's when Eli first started doing stuff, it's like, all right, soak every piece up, clip it, and then as it's gotten older, it's like, okay, Eli Manning just kind of does stuff now. It's not as big as a deal when he first retired. That was the first time, like, okay, this is just beautiful. Which that isn't my favorite Francesa prank call. I don't know if you remember, is the guy going on this long-winded story about how his dad was abusive, and he goes, and I killed him. And I've got no way of confirming that. I got no way of confirming that. That was my favorite one, but that is the most classic one. Like if someone asks, what do you think of when you think Francesa prank calls? It's the Giants, and then Jeremy
Jason Giambi,
or Jason Giambi.
Jason Giambi, because that became like the Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like people just parroted that for years. Mike, what do you think about Jason Giambi to become that coach of the Knicks? Like they just kept the Jason Giambi stuff rolling for years. So yeah,
I want to put a bow on last season though. Me and you, we were at the the Pop-Tart Bowl. We sat there and talked for like 20 to 30 minutes while Cam Ward put on a show. We became Cam Ward guys, and then I think it was either the day after or 2 days after they go and beat the Colts. So we miss out on Cam Ward just as we became Cam Ward guys. But I wish you would have came to camp because you would be an Abdul Carter. You're going to be an Abdul Carter guy. He is as good of a consolation prize as the quarterback of not getting the quarterback, and hopefully Jackson Dart just works out.
Yeah,
dude, he is a freak to watch. Like I'm having like to stop myself from making these big proclamations of like what he's gonna do as a rookie because he just moves differently than everybody.
And that's the thing is I'm going off of the little clips we get from the beat reporters and stuff like that. And I'm like, that just feels different. Like, and he's gotten these comparisons so much, and it's the number and the college and everything. But like, you do think the same thing when you see like a Micah Parsons kind of guy, right? Where it's like he's fast and he's slippery and all that kind of stuff. And it gets me excited. And also, I've been doing this now. So this is my 10th year, I think, covering the Giants for Barstool. And I have written so many blogs at camp, the highs and the lows. Sterling Shepard goes down and the season's over. He's back up. Oh, we're back. We're going to go back to the Super Bowl and all this stuff I've covered. And finally, like this year, I can't get too high and low. I'm not doing it. And then Jackson Dart throws a dime off a fucking boat and I'm back, fully in on it. But I feel like Abdul Carter, and again, he has all the Darth Vader stuff, the Star Wars stuff. And I think that will play in New York if he does it right. I will absolutely be 100% behind him. But I can put my heart in Abdul Carter's hands right now, is what you're telling me. And he's not going to I was, Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney, all these different guys that came in that we were in love with. You said Waller during that one camp where he was unstoppable. Abdul Carter's that dude though, huh?
It's just easy. Like what I've to just kind of describe it is like it's like Malik Neighbors in training camp last year, where it's like, okay, this guy's great, right? Like, training camp is training camp. They haven't played games yet, but I can just look at you and say, you're a star. Like, if anyone else was having your training camp, it would be like, what's going on? But for you, it's just like kind of boring that you're just this good. Like, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna dominate training camp every single year. We're gonna spend 2 minutes of it on every training camp recap for the next 8 years, and then when the games start, you're gonna just be player number 1 on that defense, or player number 2 because of Dexter Lawrence.
And how about Big Brain Shane? He's like, you know what? I mean, we lost Saquon, but if I don't pick up any guys that are absolute game changers other than neighbors who just started in the league, we don't have to worry about holdouts. We don't have Micah Parsons situation here, McLaurin, because no one's good enough to hold out. They're still playing for their jobs. Kayvon Thibodeau is trying to move up the depth chart because we have so many guys who can rush the passer. And that's the thing, man. Shout out Sexy Dexy, man. It's going to be so nice that he gets all that, that turbocharged, pass rush. And I guess looking back now, I guess you'd say Shane probably doesn't make the Burns trade if he knows he's going to get Abdul Carter. But I literally didn't think we were getting Abdul Carter as recently as the Pop-Tarts Bowl when I was falling in love with Cam Ward and said, if it's not him, it's Shador, which was obviously way off. And it hasn't registered in my brain that we have Abdul Carter. Is that weird that it still hasn't registered to me? I guess I'm not there and I haven't seen it in preseason, but it still just doesn't feel real. He was never on my radar. It was always quarterback. We have to take a quarterback. We got the quarterback a little later and we got this freak of nature on our team. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's, and I didn't think he'd get him either because, like you mentioned, they had Brian Burns, and I love adding him to having Brian Burns. I just didn't think that would happen, and I also thought the Browns would take him. I still think like if you ask me who made the biggest mistake in the top 5 or whatever or top 10, I'd be like, why didn't the Browns pair this guy with Myles Garrett? Like, why didn't they do that? Because and listen, Travis Hunter would have been an awesome number 3 pick. I just thought Carter was different and watching him, right? Just watching him casually. Like I kind of fell in love with him throughout the process. Where it was like when I fell in love with Andrew Thomas. I think he was a player that I liked the most that the Giants have drafted since Thomas. Well, I even liked him more. But like I liked him so much that whenever someone like would point out some of his flaws, I would like get mad and like view that person as a hater. And missing out on Micah Parsons and then watching him ball out, it's like, that would be so sick if that was on our team and we had it. It was right there in our hands and we let it go. I'm just hoping Carter can kind of live up to that bill because he's the dude who wins you games. Like, it's like when you face Micah Parsons, it's like, this is a pain in the ass to prepare for. Hopefully Carter is that.
And like you said, that's why the Burns trade is great for the Giants along with Dexter. And, we have like a front 7 now is because it's like, how are you going to prepare for this guy along with everything else? It's not just 1-on-5 or whatever it is that he's, that's what Dex was for a little bit with us. And that's the thing about the draft too. Like we could have our takes on the draft. And this thing is you were in a Abdul Carter, like when we thought he was the number 1 pick, let alone 2 or
I was already hating on Joe Shane because I was pissed at Joe Shane. but I was like, yeah, Joe Schoen's not going to take Abdul Carter because he just traded for Brian Burns and has Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, and I always think that stuff when you draft tier three, it makes perfect sense. But the thing is, like, everyone loved that Gettleman actually made a trade that year, and then the trade ended up blowing up our face because we not only passed on a guy like Parsons by trading down, past that pick, but then we have to watch Dallas take him, and then Kadarius Toney was clearly not. He was great for the content game for a little while, and he still has an award. Is the award staying around? It's all named after him. Everything.
Oh, do you already seen the new trophy? Hold on, let me see if I can do
yes.
like a share screen thing. And we changed the name to, in fact, yeah, I'm gonna do a couple. It's the Not Sure You're a Good Person, but Best Giants Reporter Award presented by Kadarius Toney. Previously presented by Talking Giants, but now presented by Giants Nation Show. So let me do a share.
Love it.
Hold on, let me do a share screen. Let's see. This is my first time doing this on.
I've never done it on Zoom before.
I haven't either. I've been in meetings when they do it, and I've never paid attention in those, quarter three halftime shows or whatever that we did. Damn it. Let's see. I think I got it. Okay, there's. Can you see that?
Oh, I was gonna say, what are the letters so that you haven't literally written?
Done because people have been signing the bus. So Dunleavy did that. And now let me find the actual trophy because we gave it to Jordan last week.
Which that's a very cool. I'm very happy for you guys. That sounds like a great collaboration. I think he's going to be great. I think that shows a great idea for Giants fans who want that, like, for their team, and not like, you could get stuff from different shows, but for the Giants, having that and having a dude like that who's not plugged in. Who is it? Was it Eric Flowers who went on him?
Yeah. I want to get Eric Flowers on the show and be like, we're talking about Miami first round picks or whatever, and just sabotage him or ambush him on that.
Ambush him, yes, I love.
Here we go. I make sure. I just did the share the screen thing, and I'm forgetting how to do it already.
You already forgot it. It's like the Die Hard 4-gallon jug thing. I can figure it out, and then if you ask me to do it again, I instantly forget how to do it. That's just how my brain works.
Sharing screen. There you go. It made an upgrade. It's got the picture of Tony.
Oh yeah.
Got the man with the gun. Which he had like this. What I could do without the gun? And I was like, I might take this award away from you. But so that's the thing is, I need to do this. I need to go screen record that Kadarius Toney press conference where he's just laughing in the beat reporter's face, just in case like the Giants delete stuff every 5 years or whatever.
Yep.
Because that's just an all-time interview that when I'm announcing that award 20 years from now, people are like, who is Kadarius Toney? And they look up his stats. I'm like, here's why the award's named after him.
I have a question for you, by the way, because I forgot the Browns had the 2 pick, and as I'm like, who did they take? And then they traded to Jacksonville, obviously. Because then I was like, if we're not getting a quarterback, we're getting Hunter. And then that fell through because I thought the Browns were going to take Hunter. When Myles Garrett came back and he's like, they told me their plan for the quarterback. And I was like, all right, do you think he just honestly signed for the money when it's always about the money? It's about the money. And they say it's not about the money. Or do you think they were like, we're tanking for Arch, or we're just going to tank for the number 1 pick in 26? And all the Texas fans tell me Arch is staying, and he does have the money and the family where he could do whatever the fuck he wants and probably choose where he goes, because Eli did the same to us with the Manning family, like power, the conglomerate, the mafia. Like, what do you think happened there? Because it's crazy that Myles Garrett's like, let me sign up for more of this.
I think he lied. I think because if there's nothing that they did that makes sense. It's like, oh, that's like, I think he was just like, I don't want to just say that I did all this and then just signed for this big money contract.
Yeah.
And because he was like, I know what they're doing, and gave like that weird smirk, and yeah. So that was always very weird. But like you said, they took Dylan Gabriel. There's no way he's like, we're going to take Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders and Myles Garrett. Like, you know what? There we go. There's the competence I need from the front office, creating, we do the training camp stats every day, right? Like, and it's a little silly. With the Browns, you see those getting like shared like crazy. Like they have literally all 4 guys every single day, training camp stat updates. They go viral every single day. like the Browns are kind of ridiculous in how they handled all that, but
You think we have it bad? We're not getting daily updates about, old Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders, and people are like serious about it. Like it would be a joke for some of us to tweet out those quarterback stats, and they're taking it extremely, extremely serious. So.
Well, and think about it this way: like I wasn't a Shador Sanders guy, but I certainly liked him more than Dylan Gabriel. So how would I be trying to treat camp when they drafted a guy who I really didn't want in Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, and then a guy I didn't want but viewed better than the 3rd rounder and the 5th rounder, and he's obviously got everything that comes with him. Like it's they generally created a shit show, and I appreciate them for that.
I have many reasons to be mad at the Giants for what they've done to us the last, decade, whatever it's been. But putting us in a position where we had to try to figure out what the Browns were thinking at the top of the draft at the 2 pick was like mental torture. It was agony. And then I thought it made sense. It's tough to trade a guy like Garrett away, Hall of Fame talent. But it did all right, if they trade him away, they get a haul. Then they use the 2nd pick on Carter. They have their next Garrett potentially, if everything works out great, obviously, and the haul they get from it, and they can figure out filling out that team because it's not just a quarterback that sucks, right? And instead, it just whatever is going on there is going on. Which, by the way, I didn't have this in my hashtag Giants 100. We had planes flying every weekend at MetLife saying how much the franchise sucked. It's crazy how bad that season was, Bobby.
It was an epidemic. Like they had it was just planes every week. Which I'm doing a positive plane for one of the early home games. I haven't picked which one, but we're doing a positive plane for Giants. Actually, that's actually something you could help me out with. I was thinking, keeping with because they all started with Mr. Mara. I was thinking of doing, Mr. Mara, please listen to the Giants Nation show, or Mr. Mara, Danny King's back as weatherman on Giants Nation show. I don't know how many characters I'm working with, but I think I'm definitely starting it with Mr. Mara.
Mr. Mara, everyone hates you, but Giants Nation show thinks you're okay. And then, when it's Giants Nation show, boom, subscribers, followers, you get the whole viral clips. I just love how it was like the reverse Charlotte's Web, where every week it was something mean about the Giants instead of some pig. And I forgot, maybe, did you read Charlotte's Web growing up?
It again?
Charlotte's Web. Did you read Charlotte's Web growing
up? Yeah.
And it was it was some pig and she had all these nice things about Wilbur that she said, and instead it was us being like, Mr. Mara. By the way, if you want to say it ironically, that's fine. If you want to put on a plane, that's fine. If anyone calls this guy Mr. Mara with a straight face, you lose the name Mr. Mara when your team is an absolute dog shit team for a decade straight. He is John. I don't even call him John Mara, just John. He's just John to me. I might take the H out of his name. He's Jon John to me.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. Is I'll just maybe I'll just spell hey John Marin, spell it wrong to really chap his ass. But also again, but here's the thing: if I'm doing a positive plane, we need some positive vibes, so it's a positive plane. That's why I'm doing it early in the year.
John, we love you.
I know.
Giants back.
I did think if the Giants get really bad this year, I think if ever we start doing planes again, I think it's like, all right, we already did this. But there was some funny as we should have got sarcastic with it, like dear Mr. Mara, you're doing great, sweetie. Get really sarcastic.
This is the worst season of your franchise history so far, like the Bart Simpson cake. There's a lot of ways we could go with that as well. It's also underrated, a dangerous thing. I don't know if you know about Newark. The airport is not a safe place to take off or land. They just lose planes on the radar a bunch of times. And that's in the same aerospace, right? So I feel like flying a plane near Newark is a dangerous proposition for people that are flying anywhere, let alone just a fucking plane over MetLife. So I don't know if that's a great idea.
Okay. Well, maybe that'd be the thing is I'm not even going to say that. I'm not going to put that. I was going to say something happens to our positive plane. Wouldn't that be something? Our positive plane goes,
Bobby,
don't
you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Bobby, I'm telling you right now, I've rooted for the Mets my whole life. I've rooted for the Knicks my whole life. And I've rooted for the Giants during this stretch. If you put a positive play in the air, that is I've seen the headlines on Barstool enough times to know that this stuff doesn't happen to if someone flew a plane over, if they were mad about like the Packers or something, it happens to us, the Jets, the Browns. We've now reached that point where we are right in line with those teams. Every year we're drafting around them in the draft. Every single year. I said it. The Giants are officially a loser franchise. I hate to say it, but it truly is. Like, if you think, I don't know, 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds, they're probably all like, the Giants are a loser team. They probably view us like they do the other teams, other than, the old highlights of all the stuff. But like, teenagers or 12-year-olds, they don't know that we were fucking great, back in the 80s. They don't give a shit.
I know, dude. So we've been doing the wheel and stuff. I'm like, these kids need to like fall in love with the Giants, and not just because their parents are Giants fans. Let's do a couple exercises before we roll.
I don't exercise, Bobby. What are we talking here? I'm not running laps, are we? Are we running laps again?
Dude, we need something. What do you want to see from Jackson Dart this year? We didn't talk a lot about him, and I think it makes sense because he's not going to play a ton most likely. But let's just say that the season isn't terrible, but they're 5-8 with 4 games left. Like, do you want to see Dart get in, or are you kind of sit the whole year type of guy?
I'm honestly, I think I'm at the point where, unless it's like we are, this team can not make noise, but like win a first round game where we were in 22, right? Like, I thought we went into that Vikings game like we could win this game, right? If we were playing like that, even with this schedule, and listen, I know I said the schedule's scary. The schedule was completely different by October 1st anyway. Like, guys get hurt, weird shits, the NFL, suspensions, the weirdest stuff you could never. It's like Christian McCaffrey just missed the season last year without tearing anything, right? It just seemed like his calf was going to explode. So if we're like, unless we're truly potentially a team that could do something in the playoffs, put them in. And honestly, just like, don't be Nathan Peterman in that game against the Chargers or whatever it was, where he had like 6 interceptions. Like, I need him to not look like he doesn't belong in the NFL, because then the dream kind of starts dying. I'll talk myself into it going before next season. But again, I was on the Daniel Jones hype group. I was the president of it. I hype our guys. I don't boo our guys. We're booing guys at Yankees games. That was terrible. Like, that's the easiest way to like poison your potential franchise quarterback, is to like make him he's already scared he's going to get killed playing an NFL game. These guys are not ready to like go up against these monsters every single Sunday. So like, I just want him to just like get confident and just show us a little something. I mean, Eli's probably the gold standard. He wasn't even that good his rookie year, but he had that Broncos game. He had that Cowboys game, right? And it's like, you're like,
he was terrible his rookie
year,
year, but he was strong. Like you said, that Cowboys game at the end of the year. There's a Steelers game, and then, like you said, the next year is when it like started to click. That Broncos against feels like the game where it just started. It's like we all kind of started to believe in Eli.
Yep. I remember the Ravens game, he had the 0 quarterback rating, right? And then I think he might have had something like that against the Eagles too.
He was terrible as a rookie. Like, it went as bad as the season could go. Again, luckily he finished the year with his best game against the Cowboys, but like, he was a terrible rookie quarterback.
And if the Giants are in the same boat as they were that season, which like they were pretty good that year with Warner, they weren't terrible. They were in like, they might have been in the hunt or whatever the graphic was. And like, granted, Eli had the, oh shit, he's our number 1 pick, this is the future, or we got to see if he's the future. Dart doesn't have the same weight to him. But I can already tell you, I'm going to be done with Russell Wilson probably by then anyway. Russell Wilson, saw that guy on my TV more visiting New York events that first like month or 2. He's at every Knicks game. I'm like, don't you put he's the quarterback of the New York Giants. Like that, there was just something that bothered me about that. I don't know what it was, but he has his sunglasses on. He's all Russell Wilson now, Mr. Unlimited courtside. And they just had like QB of New York Giants. I'm like, that's true in title, but like, you have to have like the sway and the like, I don't know. I'm not a big Russell Wilson guy. He's good. He's great. He made himself into what he was, but I've never been a fan of like the Russell corny stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of the Let's Ride stuff. Those I enjoyed every Let's Ride meme ever made.
Oh yeah, the Subway sandwich too. I love all that, Mr. Unlimited, and all that kind of stuff. I like laughing at it. Now we're gonna get laughed at with it if it goes.
Here's the thing, though, dude. We haven't seen deep passing where, like, I think you're gonna fall a little more in love because, and again, it may not last long, but I think the deep passing is like, this is fun. We haven't had this in a while. Like, he's consistently good at that. We'll see how good he is at other stuff. And again, like you said, by week 11, week 12, you might get a little frustrated. But I think the deep passing early on is going to get us like we're all going to be like Russ guys for at least like a month.
And I went to the Daniel Jones hype group last year when he had that one game. Like he missed a bunch of deep throws really bad, and it was early in the year. And I go, guys, I think it's over now. Like there was like he had the deep ball at one point, and that just was gone. And how his injuries, the being battered by the line, a mix of a bunch of stuff. But it was like it's over. To have that back, I saw a clip today of Neighbors getting led on a bomb, and you're like, oh my god, this guy is gonna have that in his repertoire now. So I'm with you. I think that's a complete game changer. Jameis made Jerry Jeudy like a great player last year randomly. Jameis also is self-aware now, which kind of like kills the whole fun side of Jameis, I think.
Yeah, it's if Jameis is your backup, cool. But like I've before we signed Jameis, and people were talking about signing him as like the starter or bridge starter. I was like, yeah, that stuff's not fun 3 games in when he's throwing interceptions and then making jokes about it. Like it's not when he's on the other teams, it's very fun to watch. When he's on your team, there's no, we did the show with Chris Rose, who's a Browns fan last year. I was like, do you think Jameis is fun? He's like, no, this sucks. Like, I don't enjoy watching the quarterback just throw interception after interception and then laugh about it in his press conference, trying to be a character. Final question. What is your record prediction for the 2025 New York Giants?
So despite all this negativity that I started the pot, I don't like that I started so negative. I came in a little hot with that.
This is usually the most positive interview at camp, and you just like you like you said, you came in hot.
They hit me in a spot, Bobby. It's a mix too. I should have said this in the beginning. It was the Giants for sure. I also like I don't like Thursday night games. I know more football is better. They have to figure it out. Like the team that was
I
just
have to interrupt you. Breaking news.
Oh boy.
The Browns signed Tyler Huntley, so now they have a 6th quarterback under contract.
Oh, Chris Rose weeps right now somewhere. But like they're just juicing this product for everything it's worth. And sometimes I don't like watching bad football. I feel like we've gotten a lot of bad football because of it. Still love the great football, and I will be hooked. Once I do my fantasy draft, I'm going to be hooked, or like you said, the first preseason game. So I'm going to I'll probably be one of the more positive guys. I've heard some of the answers. I don't know other people who have gone after me since this is going the first preseason game. I'm going. Fuck it. I was going to go 7-10. I'm going 8-9.
Thank you. Everyone's giving me 7 and 10, and that's like their fake positive, but I can't. 8 and 9. Give me an 8 and 9. That's what I live for that.
Oh, wait. Oh, breaking. Did you see this? 9 and 8. I'm going over 500. Let's go. I'm back. I got the little guy upstairs. I got to root for him. So 9 and 8. We're going above 500. Playoffs?
That gets us in. That's what I'm glad you did that because 8 and 8. Even I was gonna say I'm happy. I'm definitely happy we're at 8 and 9 and 7 and 10. It feels like 10 more wins. But like if you're going 8 and 9, you might as well go 9 and 8. They pull out a winning season.
Dude, that morning when you're going, like, at least for me, I go out, I'll get like the cold cuts, I'll get like the sauce or the meatballs I'm making for the sauce that night and all that kind of stuff. You talk yourself into the most absurd beliefs that your team's going to win any given Sunday. I'm going to do that all year. So I can't just not do that August 4th if on, September 4th, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to beat Scary Terry's holding out. Oh, it's over. Even if he comes back tomorrow, it's going to take a little while to get up to speed. We're winning that first game. So we start 1-0, which is like very rare these days. Who do we have second game? Dallas? Oh, so Schottenheimer, he's still going to be figuring it out. Dak might still be a little banged up. 2-0, and then we go from there. All right, cool. 9 and 8. Heard it here first.
There we go. 2-0. 2-0 changes everything. It's literally every time the Giants have had a good season of late, it has been 2-0. Even though they did win the Super Bowl starting out 0-2. People forget. That was another thing the Giants took away from us. Like, we started 0-2 a lot of years in a row. It's like, you didn't win the Super Bowl that year, and it got to points like, all right, well, this is like the 7th year in a row we went 0-2. You got to stop saying this, but
Eli broke our brains because of that, and even when we start 0-2, all right, Giants did that in 2007, won the Super Bowl. And then even when we're like, 5-7 midway through the season, look terrible. Like, that 2007 team didn't really round into shape until November, December. So you'd always you're like, just get us in the tournament. We can make it. And unfortunately, that only happened twice.
All right, 9 and 8. I appreciate it. That's Clem. Thank you for joining me. And we'll talk soon. Maybe Pop-Tart Bowl this year. I'm hoping we get another nice whatever, whoever we want. I want him in the Pop-Tart Bowl every single year.
We're going to be drafted in the 20s, I think. So, we won't be living or dying with someone, but hopefully I saw one of the Pop-Tarts is going to Ireland. So maybe me and you will head across the pond and visit the Pop-Tart in Ireland.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
See you then. All right. Thanks again, Clem, for jumping on. Grump, you got any last thoughts before we go and record a couple player profiles? Any last thoughts you got for the people?
The only last thought I have is I'm feeling good. I was 1 for 1 of my predictions now that we know for sure that is a Justin Timberlake poster behind you, which I totally did not see when I guessed it. So that makes me feel good. So I predicted I don't know, my fake prediction on the season was doing pretty well. So
today did a little bit of hiking, and I won't complain too much because at the end of the day, I was signed up for hiking. But we parked in the wrong spot. So, we were going to a waterfall, and we walked over 2 miles. And it wasn't like walking through like a nice trail. It was just basically like a straight line through the woods of nothing special, just to get to the part where you hike to the waterfall. So, if you go to the waterfall, it's awesome. But, it's a hike back up, right? And you're tired. So then you're tired. And then it's like, all right, now we got to go another 2 miles of just nothing to look at to get back to the vehicle. So, but it was good, but I thought I was down at the waterfalls. Like, we should do a live show here. And the other thing is there was like a parking place right there, like where everybody went to, and we were the only people on that trail. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to have to carry all this equipment up from this waterfall. And
moral of the story, don't go chasing waterfalls.
Don't go chasing waterfalls. What we should do is, I was thinking of like doing like a levee system where we just, we can pull all the equipment up and let it down, and then we'll do a live show. I've lost my mind with the live shows. All right, that's an episode. We will see you guys when we see you. Actually, preseason recap. Until then, let's go Big Blue.